When it comes to antagonists, Skyrim has no shortage of good and compelling villains. There are the forces of nature archetypes like Alduin, your stereotypical tyrants like Harkon, misunderstood villains, and even the ones who are simply greedy. However, there's one antagonist here that I've always found hard to categorize. This character feels the least evil, and even though she's a professional assassin, she oddly feels the most human. I'm talking about Astrid, of course, the leader of the Dark Brotherhood in Skyrim. She's for sure an antagonist, but she's different from all the other ones I mentioned on this list. Welcome to the second episode of Villain's Perspective. In this series, I try to explore villains by trying to see the world through their eyes instead of being an outside observer. And also, I might sound a bit off. I think I might be coming down with a cold, so I apologize if the voice is different than usual. With the introductions out of the way, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video.
This sanctuary has been my entire life since I was a young woman. That's when I first discovered my, shall we call it, aptitude for elimination.
There's not much that's known about Astrid's past, at least not concretely. We do know, however, how she started out as an assassin. The game in fact gives us that dialogue option. If you ask her, she will tell you that when she was young, she had an uncle that made unwanted advances towards her. So in order to defend herself, she killed him. It is after that point where Astrid realizes that she enjoyed killing, so she killed again, and realized that she enjoyed it even more. And it's around that time where young Astrid is approached by the Dark Brotherhood, and she's invited to the family. And from the way she describes the Dark Brotherhood and how protective of them she is, we can conclude that Astrid must have lost her parents at a young age, or lacked a true family and parental figures that cared for her well-being, or some variation of that narrative. This can most definitely explain why she calls the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary her home, and the people there her family. This is not mentioned explicitly, however, and I'm trying to fill in the gaps here myself, but I think with everything we know about her character, this narrative makes sense. So you see, during Astrid's time in the Dark Brotherhood, the guild was facing multiple crises at the same time. The Great War between the Altmeri Dominion and the human nations led to the members of the Dark Brotherhood being hunted, and the Penthas Oculatus started weeding out the Dark Brotherhood sanctuaries all over Tamriel. And this continued to the point where there were only 4 sanctuaries left in all of Tamriel. However, the final nail in the coffin is when the listener at the time, Alison Dupré, gets killed. And after her death, for more than 12 years, the Night Mother refused to appoint another listener. This meant it became nearly impossible for the rest of the surviving sanctuaries to carry out contracts. And with that, the influence and the fear that the Dark Brotherhood struck into the hearts of people was gone. But instead of surrendering to the situation, Astrid chose to act. She started using word of mouth and hearsay to find and carry out contracts. Of course, without the Night Mother being there to relay everything, she most likely missed a large portion of the contracts, but heck, she did something when there was no hope. It is safe to assume that it's during this time that she rose to full power and took over the leadership of the sanctuary, and she went so far to even disregard the Dark Brotherhood's 5 tenets, which are basically 5 rules that every member working for the guild should abide by.
Used to be the Dark Brotherhood was bound by 5 tenets, but we stopped following those years ago. All those rules, all that discipline, and look where the Dark Brotherhood ended up. We're the last of our kind, and we live the way we see fit. Bottom line, respect your family. Do that, and everything else will fall into place.
But regardless, that doesn't really matter much. In the grand scheme of things, Astrid created something out of nothing and saved her home and family. The situation started to get better as she started to pick up more contracts. One day, she starts hearing whispers about a young boy who ran away from an orphanage in Riften. The rumors claim that he's performing the Black Sacrament and wants the abusive headmistress of the orphanage killed. But before Astrid can even gather her resources and assign that contract, Grelod is mysteriously killed. Astrid is confused and follows the person responsible to find out it's you, the player character. And this is where the normal Dark Brotherhood questline begins. I'm not going to go over the full quest. If you want to see that, I did a full breakdown of Skyrim and Oblivion's questlines. You can watch that video right here. Long story short, instead of punishing you for stealing their contract, she recruits you. And as their newest member, you're doing good for yourself. This is all up until the Keeper shows up with the corpse of the Night Mother. And just as it so happens, this Keeper is the last surviving member coming all the way from Cyrodiil, and he doesn't look very sane. You see, in the absence of a listener, a Keeper is appointed. The Keeper's duties are simple: keep the Night Mother's corpse safe and clean. Also, to remember the secret words, so that they know when the Night Mother appoints a new listener. Astrid doesn't trust this Keeper. She did not choose him. And this man simply just walked into her sanctuary and started criticizing how things are run here. He started saying how these are not the true ways of the Dark Brotherhood, the ways of an old corpse that chose to toy with her and her family's life, and to stay silent for more than 12 years. But if you've played through this quest, you know that the Night Mother won't be silent. Oh, she will speak, and she will speak to you.
Who But I will speak. I will speak to you, for you are the one. Yes, you. You who shares my iron tomb.
The corpse names you the listener, the leader of the Dark Brotherhood, and gives you your biggest contract yet. To kill the Emperor of Cyrodiil. A contract that Astrid would have never heard even a whisper about. Pausing the narrative for a second, we need to explore something first. Up to this point, Astrid has been a character that every part of her life has been defined by her choices. She's a character that every time something bad was about to happen in her life, she took control and changed the situation. First, she did this when she was young, saving herself from her vile uncle. She did this a second time, not giving up when the Dark Brotherhood was in crisis and about to crumble. She's a character defined by taking charge, grabbing destiny and shaping it to her will. So how do you think a character like that, a character who her whole life is defined by survival and fighting back, will act when her choices are taken away? She will most definitely fight back. In reality, you have not been in the guild no more than a few days. You have no right to the leadership, and Astrid is right to feel threatened. Everyone in her shoes would too. And that's one of the major reasons why, despite you being the listener, everyone still listens to Astrid and not to you.
You may be the listener, or you may just be a lunatic who's started hearing voices. Either way, Astrid is still your mistress.
Imagine if this was you for a second. Imagine if you're working for the Dark Brotherhood and suddenly everything starts crumbling down. You hear news of sanctuary after sanctuary falling and more of your brothers and sisters dying. And just when everyone needs it the most, the big boss of the guild, the Night Mother, goes silent and stops her communication. And it takes you more than 12 years to create a functioning guild out of the ashes of what was. But suddenly out of nowhere, the same boss that left you to survive on your own comes back with the new hire and starts demanding things to go back to normal. And mind you, the Night Mother is known for toying with other members of the Dark Brotherhood. In Oblivion, she knew who the traitor was, but she didn't say anything to simply prove to the Black Hand that how blind and stupid they were. But I digress. You were given the major contract, but somewhere in the middle of the mission, you are caught and betrayed. At the time, you're told someone in the sanctuary sold you out. And it's Astrid, of course. By betraying you, Astrid tries to fight back and take that charge. She tries to stay in control, but we all know how her fate turns out.
Alive! You're alive! Thanks, Sithis. Shh. Please. There is much I have to say, and not much time. Oh, my Sithis, I was such a fool. All of this, it's all my fault. You are the best of us, and I nearly killed. Don't you see? It was me. I set you up, wanted you dead. I betrayed you. The Night Mother, everything I hold dear. And now Marrow has betrayed me. I just wanted things to stay the way they were. Before Cicero, before the Night Mother, before you. I thought I could save us. I was wrong, but you're alive. So there's still a chance. A chance to start over. Rebuild. That's why I did this. Don't you see? I prayed to the Night Mother. I am the Black Sacrament.
And it's not like she's cocky and set in her ways. She sees where she went wrong, and she sees that she should have listened to the Night Mother and gone back to the old ways. Instead, she dies knowing her action cost her family everything. Astrid is a resourceful and smart character. Some may call her villainous and stupid, but to me, she's the perfect example of human resilience and adapting to a bad situation. She's an antagonist for sure. She is flawed and makes detrimental mistakes. But despite that, I don't find Astrid villainous. To me, she is simply human, a very flawed human. If you agree or disagree with me, please let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading different opinions. I was your host, the Ashen Mage, and see you next time.
Astrid. By the sands, I still can't wrap my head around.
If I hadn't heard it with my own ears, I wouldn't have believed it. How could Astrid have done this to us? Strangely, I feel only pity for her.